Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the impact it has, the people it reaches. I started it as a passion project many years ago, and I was inspired to start it by my mentor, my friend Cedric Jeffrey, who left this realm, and he guided me to really understand my voice, my gift. And I named it after her, it has her initials, Cedric Jeffrey, Spiritual Journey. And actually, on the day we're recording, today is actually her birthday. So wishing Sidra a heavenly birthday, happy heavenly birthday. Thank you for everything you do. So I started this podcast as maybe one episode a month. Now we do 2 episodes a week. I love it. I know it finds people when they need it most. And it's my way of just using my voice, shining my light. And I'm blessed that I get to do it. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. What I get to do is I get to guide people, holding your space through a mentorship program, through this podcast, through Akashic Records. I hold your space and guide you to you, releasing the layers and guiding you to shine your light. I feel like we're all going through this shift, and I love what I get to do. I get to hold your space while you're going through this shift. Also, with this podcast, I have the beauty and the benefit of interviewing some amazing guests. I'm excited to have Mark with me here on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Mark, I'd love for you to use your words to introduce who you are. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nims. And it's I love that today is your partner's birthday. It's also our youngest son's birthday as well. So he just turned 24 today. So I love that there's a synchronicity already forming here.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, she was my guide and mentor on this planet, and she no longer with us, but she's definitely with us for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah. So about me, using words. Sometimes I dislike words, right? Because they're so limiting. It's what I wrote to my youngest child this morning about that words are so limiting when we're sharing from deep things of the heart. And so I'll try to keep it short as far as who I am and what I'm doing. So I'm truly am blessed to be connected to really deeply to nature is my place of deepest healing and connection. I communicate with it. It communicates with me, and it opens me up to some really spectacular encounters and miracles and just such depth of beauty. And what I told my wife when I first met her is that if I could find a way to help people experience what I experience in the deep connection with nature, you would never feel alone. You would find such peace and connection and deep loving surrounding you at all times that even the concept of war and of anger and of isolation would just be a moot point. So I'll stop with that because I think that's enough.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. I do feel like Mother Nature, the elements are supporting us more than ever before. I feel like it's like whenever I touch, barefoot on grass, and I feel like such a grounding, such a support. And on the flip side, I feel like the planet's going through the biggest shift it's ever been through. So, sometimes Gaia uses our energy to heal and to vibrate and to shift. So, interesting times for sure. I always love just by kind of tapping into the current energy. What are you feeling? For me, I feel like we're going through this shift that's been going on for a while. We're shifting from the divine masculine type energy, the egos, the individuals, to more divine feminine type energy, which is more about the heart. And I feel like everybody, and we talked about a bit about it before, but I feel like everybody's going through a shift. And I'm just curious, what are you feeling that's happening on the planet? What are you feeling? Are you feeling a shift? What would you want to share that's in your heart?
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a shift going on. And I have felt this for a couple of years now that there is such a massive shift happening that what we think, it's not a thinking thing at this point. We can't think our way into the future and anticipate what it's going to be because the shifts are so outside our paradigm of being able to project what it's going to be that it's inviting me into my heart and into the stillness and just be present and be aware and do my inner work. And when the time comes, I'll know what is mine to do in that. And so even around work, I stepped out of, in a really interesting way, speaking of nature and stuff, pushed myself out of my academic university job of 17 years just 2 years ago now, and I'm really in this interesting transition and just holding space and not trying to be, the outside world wants to pull me back into the 9 to 5 melee. And I'm staying really grounded most times in holding the pathway and doing what's coming through and being asked of me to do right now. So it's very interesting times. And I know the world is going to need those of us who are holding this space.
Wow, I love it. I love the synchronicities too. I was 17 years at the last company I was with, through takeovers, job change, whatever, but 17 years, and I left 2.5 years ago. So the synchronicities continue. I love it. I'd love for you to share more about your journey. Your connection to the earth, and kind of how did that come about? Tell us more about your journey, and and also any guidance you have, or anyone that wants to connect deeper to the planet.
Mm. Well, I was blessed that my mother and father decided to move to the farm that he grew up on back in eastern Iowa, which, for those of you who may be familiar with the movie Field of Dreams, my farm was about 15 minutes from there. And so I grew up on the farm and I had such deep relationship with the land and with my animals, my dogs and my cats. In fact, I had a Siamese cat that was, and if you know anything about being on a farm, a random Siamese cat on in a farming rural America, is almost like I've never seen or heard of a Siamese cat just wandering out as a feral cat. It just doesn't happen. So this cat was literally my familia. I could speak to it. We could communicate back and forth. Um, I had this deep relationship with the land and such trust. And I remember clearly about the first time that I felt disconnected was when my dad was trying to protect me, because I was in these cornfields and just wandering as this young 3 and 4 year old boy with my dog going I think about it now as a parent. I can't imagine how terrified my mother and father were about me just wandering in cornfields and disappearing. And so he took me into the middle of one of our cornfields and told me to stay there. And he walked away, and it's like, he was talking to me about you going to the fence line. I could hear him talking. I was crying because it was the first time I felt disconnected from nature, from source, because he was basically telling me that I needed to learn to know where I was and to protect myself. And the whole time I never had any fear of that. I just knew I never even thought of where I was going. I just knew the way home. I love that. I never heard that myself say that. I knew
I
the
love
way
it.
home. I knew the way home. And so I was standing in the field crying, and he was off in the distance talking to me as in a different voice, trying to pretend like it wasn't him. And this energy of nature, of the land, came and like grabbed my soul and picked me up and said, "We are here. We are always with you. We're always with you. You never have to worry about that. We've got you." And it picked me up and it showed me where my dad was. I could see him. I was kind of standing beside him and I could see him talking to my physical body. And it
Hmm.
lifted me up. And there's just this great, it's like, I'm at peace again. I'm connected back in. And then I walked home. So that's how things started for me, Nims. And then I kind of did the journey that most of us do as we start separating out as we get in that middle school and we get into high school and different things are pulling at us. And then into my empire building kind of stuff as a Air Force officer after college. And then, I was playing in penny stocks like the Wolf of Wall Street stuff, and had accumulated, at that time about $400,000. And that was 30 some years ago now. And I was I was like, I'm on top of the world. And then I lost everything, literally everything overnight, which was an incredible curse. And yet within that dark night of the soul was the greatest blessing, which brought me back into connection with nature. So I started reading everything I could and got another degree in natural resources, and spent a lot of time just anchoring into nature in the foothills of Colorado Springs. And and it all came back. The connection all came back. And so since that time frame, I've done a lot of what they call my derivation of the Native American vision quest, which is I call the inner quest, where I go into nature for 4 days and fast from food and not from water, and connect in, do ceremony, do rites and rituals, do all kinds of listening and connecting in. Um, and in that, every time, no matter how much I am in my mind about things in the outside world and in the work environment, every time I step away from that and allow myself to soften in and to receive, it's always about receiving. It's like, the messages are always coming from the divine. I just sometimes am so much in my way that I don't hear it and don't receive it. And so that's where I am now. I've been doing that for the last 30 years, and I'm in this journey here of really being receptive and in this new place of the work I'm doing outside of this is just listening to where I'm being guided and how I'm showing up.
I love it. I love it because I always say my deal with my guides is I'm just going to keep showing up wherever I feel like I need to be. I'm just going to keep showing up, and I love I get to do that. So I'd love for you to share. If anyone's listening and kind of wants to build a deeper connection to the earth, the deeper connection to Gaia, to Mother Earth, what would you advise them to do?
Well, for me, the first thing really is understanding that we are this ecosystem of Earth ourselves. We're a compilation of all the elements, and it was interesting at first when I first started kind of moving back into this direction. I had lost all this money and I really wanted to do traveling and stuff. It's why I got in the Air Force, and I ended up staying the entire time in Colorado Springs because it was in Space Command, and 95% of the jobs were in Colorado Springs. So after I'd lost all this money, it's like, I really wish I could have gone and done some traveling. What I heard Spirit say to me was, I am all the elements. I am, the water within me, which comprises the majority of this vessel here. The water within me has traveled the entire planet, has traveled through all epochs, has been there for the beginning of time, as far as since humans have been here. We've been here. And so I have that within me. I just have to tap into that. And it's like, and the land that I'm walking on and the body that's created here is itself a compilation of all the minerals and elements and stuff. And interestingly enough, I'm a sprinkling of stardust too. And we know that, right? It's not just metaphorically that we're of the stars. We know that there's stardust, our energy, star particles in, that also comprise this. So once I understood myself as this sacred vessel, or at least the body, the part that houses or that my soul resides in, is this living vessel, then I'm automatically connected. I'm a walking sacred altar, if I can remember that. And then it's about, I don't know about plugging books or not, but my first book I wrote is called The Art of Connecting with Nature. And in that, it's an anthology of 22 co-authors that I brought together to speak about how they connect with nature, not in nature, but with it. So it's a relationship. How do we have a relationship with it? Because a lot of people are in nature. They move through it. They run through it. They maybe go and walk and play and do all kinds of stuff. But there's a big difference about being in it and being with it. One is relational. One is just moving. It's a really different experience. So in there are different rites, rituals, and ceremonial pieces in between the chapters that are offered. So those are some. I mean, for almost anybody, no matter where you are on your kind of your spiritual journey, there are, or in your relationship with Earth, there are exercises in there that I think will help anybody kind of plug in with those. For me, as a man in this iteration, in this lifetime, I have such dynamic energy, which is that masculine drive. I'm so much in my mind, so much of the time. When I go into nature, when I'm aware, when I'm conscious enough, I let that part of myself go and I settle into the softer, feminine, receptive mode. Because my connecting with nature is not a dynamic nature, it's a receiving place.
Yeah.
And in that is the beauty of softening and receiving and being open for the messages. And it's not a lesser. When I say softer, I'm not saying lesser. Feminine is definitely not lesser. Oftentimes, it's much more um, powerful in its
Mm.
expression. So that is one of the best ways is to go in with curiosity and set the mind down and open for possibility and come with your heartfelt question. So it's coming from the heart, opening your heart, being in the emotional body, being receptive, and allow the messages of nature to communicate with you. And I love Henry Ford's, there are a lot of people who say, well, that's just make believe world that I'm doing. It's like, yes. And what Henry Ford says, if you believe you can or can't, you're
Yeah.
correct. So
True.
I so fully believe that if you believe that you can't connect with nature, that it's just a passive entity, and that there is nothing like that going on, there is no communication and relationship happening in nature, you're right.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, you believe that nature and the natural environment is always communicating with us, that the things that show up for us are messengers to our soul, to our God, that we're constantly communicating with each other, then we're correct.
Yeah. No, I love it. And whatever your truth is, your truth, right? And
Sure.
whatever you put out to the universe is what the universe will give back. So it's like connecting with your guides. If you trust they're there and you feel them, then they're there. If in your mind you're like, oh, it's all woo woo stuff, then sure, then it is for you. And it's no right or wrong. I mean, for me, naturally connecting to nature is really not that hard. It's just even standing barefoot on grass and just allowing myself just to feel everything in that moment, feel one with everything. It just sometimes I feel like we complicate life by, oh, we need to do this and go here and do this, and it needs to be this ritual, that ritual. Just being present in the beauty and the it's just so there's so much beauty and magic and power in the moment if you can be present in it. And your mind, your ego plays tricks and oh yeah, you're not really feeling that, whatever. It's like sometimes you got to talk to your ego and say it's okay, it's all right, we're good, don't worry. Um, so I know we talked a little bit about it before we kind of schedule this. I'd love for you. I feel like so many of us are going through a shift where we're being pulled into a brand new reality, and I feel like a lot of us are in this phase where our old world we don't really doesn't exist anymore. We don't fit in anymore, and the new world's still being created. And I feel like you went through that shift when you decided to leave, um, the environment you were in to kind of be this version of you. So I'd love for you to share what did that feel like? Because I feel like a lot of people will feel connected to that version because I feel like a lot of us are feeling more and more disconnected, and the urge to be connected feels different than before, if that makes sense. I'd love for you to share that journey, how it felt for you, and kind of, I know it's always work in progress, right? I feel it. I left corporate a few years ago. I've never looked back. Um, but I know it's always work in progress, right? I know I was there for a reason. Whatever that reason is, who knows? Actually, right now, who cares? But yeah, I'd love for you to share what that journey felt like for you.
Yeah, it's a interesting story. So
I'm
I'll
sure.
take it back to where I first kind of got the inkling, which was during COVID when things slowed down enough, and I was able to step out of my busy academic life with things, and I was out in my backyard creating a water feature back there, and I heard it, so I receive in different ways, but this time I literally heard it's like you're doing good work in the world, but it's not your soul work. And I'm like, that
Wait, can we
statement
just
that
stop there
came,
for a second?
yeah,
I want people to hear that.
yeah.
Say that again. What message did you get?
Yeah, what I heard Source say is you're doing good work in the world. It's just not your soul work.
And just I want people just to sit with that. How does that make you feel? Whatever you're doing in the world, You're doing good work. You're doing whatever you're doing, but is it your soul work? How does that make you feel? Yeah. Just sorry I interrupted. Just go from there. But it's just
Not at all, man.
it felt well. Sorry, not sorry. If that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. You don't have to apologize anymore. Three here. I
No,
trust that you're
I'm
being
not.
guided to interject when you need to interject. It's like,
I'm not
capture
really
that.
apologizing. I'm just
I know you're not.
being human. It's all good.
And I'm not really accepting your apology. We're good.
It's all good. We play this game, but it just felt important because I feel like
Yeah.
it will resonate. That it's just sometimes you got to be gentle with yourself. Your soul work, as long as you have the intention of connecting with your soul, things will be revealed when they're meant to be revealed. So please do continue, though. I'm
Yeah.
excited
So
to hear.
it was such a profound, it was so simple, but yet so profound. I could have gone, yep, I agree with that. But it was more than that. It was like my whole soul coming online going, it's time. And so I knew this, and I still fought for that. It's like, well, I know I really need, you're absolutely right. And when this time comes, when whatever it was, when I may have enough money in my retirement, whenever it was never happening. I always had some excuse, right? Because it was easier and safer for my subconscious to play it safe and play it small and or for my ego to go, I'm the academician. I've got all these accolades. I'm, see who I am in the world. And I was on a hike in June of 2023 out in one of the trails outside of Colorado Springs. And there were two turkey vultures that started circling. And they came lower than I've ever seen a turkey vulture before. So they've always, from underneath, they look black. From on top, they're actually brown and have these golden flecks in them, this flecking. And their scientific name actually means golden purifier, which I learned afterward. I went back and did some research. And so I'm seeing these two cycling, but I can't see where anything is. And I continue to look just a little short distance down the path, and there's another third one shows up, and then a fourth one. And so it's like, well, there's definitely something dead down here. I can't smell. I'm just looking in the direction of where they're kind of circling. It's like, I don't see anything. I don't smell anything, but it's something that's really close because it's, they're circling so low. And so after 5 minutes of watching, it's like, well, happy feeding. And then I just start walking, and they start following me, and they follow me down the path. And it's like, oh my gosh, I am the thing that is the dead being that they're circling around. So when I got home, I told my wife, it's like, I'm going to have to be careful because if I'm not careful, I'm going to lose my job. And within a week, I was out of a job, which is almost impossible to happen in a university setting. And even more amazingly there was nothing that happened that initiated it. It was a very strange, such a strange, I could go into that, but the initial point of me kicking myself, I had the calling back in 2020, 2021, whatever it was, when I got that message in the, working in the backyard, then held off and stopped myself. And then it's like, all right, you're not going to do this on your own. It's like, I'm going to kick myself out of the nest. And so it wasn't a willing jump out, if you will, not on my physical level, on the soul level it was. And so I know that because of super strange way that this happened, it was not something that somebody was doing to me. I was doing this for myself. It was hard on the physical level. It was hard on my ego level. It was hard from that standpoint. But from the deeper spiritual, I'm very, very aware that it was nothing that was happening to me. It was happening for me as myself, going, all right, time. We're not doing this on our own. The time has run out. Now it's time to jump out of the nest. So since that time frame, I've been listening to the calling of what is inviting my soul forward. And so I've got a couple projects I'm working on. One is with men. One is with a book I'm writing that has to do with our relationship with our physical body, and the importance of understanding this physical body and being in relationship to it and listening to it and having it be our friend as opposed to our enemy. And then some really interesting sound work that's coming through. That's this mysterious thing that I've known I'm supposed to be doing something with my voice in a more profound way, and it's unveiling itself in these really interesting um, mechanisms. So it's tough. It's hard because the outside world is especially as a man, and don't want to just delineate, but certainly as men is like, what are you doing? How come you're not taking care of your family? Because right now I'm not generating income as of yet. I'm creating these pathways that will, but in the interim, I've got the pressure from family, from friends, from men in my men's circles, from society as a whole saying, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do as a man?
Wow.
And
Mm.
and my subconscious, my ego, my identity is like, I mean, I get pulled back into it. It's like, yeah, so I start going on LinkedIn and start building out my resume, and then I stop back. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Am I aligned with where my soul is calling me forward to? Am I trusting that, or am I going to let my fear pull me back into something that I know I'm not supposed to be doing? For all the reasons you're talking about, Nims, is
Yeah.
that there is a shift that's happening. We're all aware of it, that
We feel it.
environment
Mm.
the environment that we're in, or that we've been used to being in, is not going to be there. So I could jump back into the work field, but I'll be out of work somewhere in the near future anyway. So better for me to hold the course and stay true to the messages that are coming through and the guidance that I've got, and hold the course, because our planet, our world, the ecosystems are going to need those of us who are holding that to hold that container and really be a grounding force, because it's going to be unnerving. It's unnerving for us, like you and
Yeah.
I, to be out of this thing that we're used to being in. And
Yeah. The
so
control.
we're kind of leading part of this, going, can we be in this discomfort? You were in your tech job. Now you're doing spiritual journey
Mm.
podcast. I was in the academic world, teaching and doing all this kind of stuff. And now I'm doing teaching in a really different way. I'm bringing a different
Yeah.
part of myself
Beautiful.
forward that I had kind of somewhat hidden, or it was an also ran kind of thing. And now I'm bringing that aspect front and center.
I love it.
So,
Yeah. I love it. It's just your story is a beautiful example of how the universe works. It's like gives you a little nudge. The message that you got during COVID. It gives you a little nudge. Sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't. And when we don't, the universe is like, all right, let me give you a kick. This time, hopefully, you'll hear it. And this is where, you kind of being let go. And that's I love how the universe works and the synchronicity of it. And then, or even your old life pulling you back. Right? We come
right.
into this world as a programmed being. It's like we have all this programming, and it's like we've got to shed all these layers. And sometimes the old life wants to pull us back, right? And even the people around you, it's like they have expectations that they want to, and it's just how we handle that is really interesting. So I feel like that's just I just wanted to point it out because it's a great example of how this shift works. Your old life sometimes trying to pull you back, and the more you can
Yeah.
stay
And
the
I
course.
want to, I want to jump into something that you said, that the universe kind
Sure.
of hits us or hurts us or throws us or hits us, because that's the kind of some of the sayings are that we get: if we don't do our work, the universe comes and hits us with that universal 2x4, right? And makes it much more
Yeah.
difficult. I want to switch that a bit, because that sounds almost like a punishing universe, right? That's
No,
no different than
I don't believe
it's
that
no
at all.
different than that punishing. Yeah, it's no different than a
I feel the
punishing
universe loves us.
Judeo-Christian God.
Yeah, the universe loves us. It wants to hear that, and it wants us to hear that initial message.
Yeah,
But it
and for
also
me,
has a
like I said,
role. Yeah, has a role to play, right?
right, and
To
for
make sure
me,
we
it
feel it.
wasn't I mean, I am the universe.
Yeah. So
I am. It's not like I was being negative to myself. It's like, no, I came here to be the greatest version of myself. I mean, I have a purpose of being here. My soul wants to express itself in this, and I gave myself the message: hey, we're doing good work, but not my soul's work. It's time. I've gathered everything I needed for this life. It's time now to step into this deeper work. And I was holding back. I pushed myself out of the nest, not the universe kicking me and punishing me. I did that because of a greater purpose that I'm here to serve.
yeah.
I was just I was pulling myself, nudging myself. So it wasn't a negative aspect. It was the most beautiful thing, is no matter how difficult it seems, once I get enough space from that time frame. It felt painful in the moment because I wasn't aware enough of the bigger
Yeah, and there's a divine
pattern.
timing to everything too, right? There's a
Right.
Oh, and I couldn't agree more. I feel like the universe loves us. The universe wants us to go with love.
Absolutely.
It just engulfs us, whatever you want to call it, universe, God, guides, whatever, but whatever human label you want to give it. But it's like,
Right.
it's a loving force, but also that wants us to shine our light unconditionally in the way that we came here to. So if it needs to give us little nudges, little supports, or, whether we call that, whether we follow that as a human, whether we don't, it's all part of the universal love that we're in. So no, I couldn't agree more. Um, yeah, I'm curious what you mentioned about men, because I mean, I'm seeing, it's like a lot of things I see is, this group's for women, and I'm not, it's beautiful, right? It's good that there's a lot of support, but I am finding um more and more spaces that are supporting the men, and it's like the masculine energy, the vibration, kind of the program we have, which says, men are not allowed to cry, and need to be the providers, and all this kind of program stuff that we've been dealing with centuries and centuries. I feel like all of that is shifting, and the masculineness, as we go through a shift, and it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, but I feel that masculineness is in kind of some kind of crisis, and the feminine energy in us is starting to awaken. It's that heart, it's that shifting from the head to the heart. So I'm curious about the work that you're doing with men, and kind of what that looks like, because I feel like it's needed and wanted. So I'd love for you to share more about what that looks like.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right with all the, historically, or at least I should, depends on how far back we go historically, right? So you go back a few thousand years, and the structure of our work environment certainly made it much more accessible for men with typically, I'll say it generally, with a stronger physical body to have more access and um, more ability to do the hard physical labor. We were, uniquely designed or created to be able to do that, and so that tipped the scales kind of in our favor. And we're in a world right now where that's not necessary. You don't need the physical body so much to be in a work environment. So the emotional intelligence, the connection, the heart center, the understanding nuances of connection and stuff that are more the feminine connection point are much more readily accessible and needed in today's environment. And so we're seeing women excel in so many ways, or the
Yeah.
feminine within us excel in so many ways. And that creates this interesting dynamic because our cultures are set up around particular roles and how things are played out. And the men are the providers, and the women are get protected by them, and they're the creators. And those roles are all kind of shuffled around right now. And it's I think it's hard to some degree for men and women to understand what this new world is and how that's unfolding. And that's how we get some of this manosphere and the red pill movement, and some of these men who are out there um, talking about things that are really not healthy for any of us, and providing, unfortunately, a pathway for young men to think that the way forward is to be misogynistic and to be controlling, and that women are below us, and that if they, you know, and to some degree, it starts out in a positive way. It gets the young men off their couches and off the video games and into direction. That stuff is really healthy, what they're doing. But as soon as they turn it into the women are the problem, and we need to assert our power over the women, that creates a problem. That creates a real issue, and puts we as men in victim mentality. And there is nothing in that supports us as men or women in that. So the specific work I'm doing, the niche that I'm into, is around men who are in midlife, whose partners in a heterosexual relationship, whose partners are going through the perimenopause, menopause journey. And the reason why I'm focusing on that is because my wife and I are about a dozen years past that journey ourselves. And it was one of those things that almost, if anything was going to upend our relationship, it was that. And primarily because I was using a set of tools, the fix it, the solve it, the logic my way through it, the let me be the knight in shining armor, and say that's how I approach relationships. So the same tools that were fairly effective for me as a younger man in my late teens, early 20s, I really hadn't put a lot of energy into upgrading those skill sets. I've put a lot of time and energy into upgrading my business skill set and learning how to manage and supervise and work around and through conflict on how to hire and fire, how to do all those kind of things and motivate and all, I mean, thousands of hours worth probably in that leadership role in the business, but almost nothing into the relationship realm. So when we came into midlife and my wife going to perimenopause, I was still using the same set of tools because that's all I had in my tool bag. And unfortunately, in my heart, I was really trying to help. I was really trying to get back on track and trying to understand this. And unfortunately, that set of tools, not only does it not help, it actually creates more separation from our partners. What they need is something different. And so the work I'm doing right now, which is around, my YouTube channel is actually called Men, Midlife, Menopause. And there's information there. There's information about there's some webinars and courses I do, but it's really about in this place of being in midlife and being in that journey with our partners, feeling disempowered, feeling like no matter what I say, it's going to be wrong. I'm trying to help and solve really, and I'm doing it wrong. The intimacy typically gets further and further away because unfortunately, a lot of the stuff we're doing is contributing to the lack of intimacy or the intimacy moving away, and we're struggling. And so what I do is help men find a pathway forward that is our own rite of passage. So this is about us and using her fire, if you will, her energy, the energy of her going through the menopause journey for us as men to use it as the crucible, as the forge for our own journey and activating and creating a dynamic movement, that masculine dynamic movement that is kind of on hold when we don't know what to do and how to fix things, and whatever we're doing isn't working, gives us a pathway forward through our own initiation and hero's journey. So yeah, it's good work.
No, I love it. I mean, as men, I guess we like to fix things, right? And what if something, doesn't need fixing? It's just, and yeah, it's beautiful. What if it's here to help you? I love it. I love it. I love the intention. It's so powerful. Obviously, I include the YouTube link and everything in the show notes. But I guess I'd love for you to share your advice to our listeners. Anything that's in your heart in terms of managing these times. Anything you feel like you want to share that may help them through this journey.
Yeah, Nims, that's a great question. And I can only share what is being true for myself is to, when the fear comes up, not to try to push it away, but to listen to it because it's there to help it and to also surround it with a place of love and going, okay, this is somehow we're going to be okay. Remember that we're infinite beings, that this is a change and change feels uncomfortable for us, and change of lifestyles and patterns are really unsettling for us. Changes within our culture, like we're just talked about with the men's and women's kind of dynamic, that's unsettling for all of us because we like our inner limbic system really likes the safety of knowing what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to show up. And so I would say lean into each other. Remember, who are your find people, men. Men, I'm asking you to go out and find groups and connecting with other men, because it's this lone wolf mentality that we have been raised to believe, at least in the United States, that's our foundational piece, is we're supposed to be a lone wolf. What I say in my courses and programs is I think it's the thing that's done us the most damage, because in traditional indigenous cultures, the men were in community together. The women were in community together. There were men's mysteries and women's mysteries, but men were always together, always connected. And we had the wise men and the elders who guided the younger men and showed them the pathway forward.
It's the cycle. Yeah.
Right. So we demonstrate. So if you're a man or a woman in midlife, then find the work, find the tools, find the teachers who will help you become those midlife people who are the grounded people that can help the younger people forward. If you're in your last segment of life, do the deep inner work that allows you to be a wise elder. Eldership is not something that comes because you turn a certain age. And I have men say that all the time. It's like, I guess I'm an elder now because I'm 75. It's like, no, you're not. You're just a 75-year-old man who's probably still operating in a Prince operating system of that younger 25-year-old man. So I ask men, what age are you on the inside?
Mm.
What age are you on the inside? Because that will give you a clarity about where you are in your pathway of are you still operating in that young man energy field? Have you upgraded to the midlife, or are you moving toward the elder position? So it's about connection.
Yeah.
It's about how can we connect with each other? How can we remember that we're all going through this, that we're really not true, even though it looks like we're separate,
Yeah.
we're really here connected. Quantum science shows that. It's not just the woo-woo of stuff. And at a deeper level, we know it to be true, but we're afraid to connect.
So beautiful. Beautiful. And it's a powerful question to ask whether you're male or female, what age am I on the inside?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. A lot of what you said resonates so much because I feel like we're entering into an age where it's all about collaboration and community. So we should be asking for help. We should be looking for communities that hold us. It's a sign of strength asking for help. And one of the first questions you asked when you started that piece was, what do you fear the most? And I feel that's a powerful question to ask in this moment. If you listen to this, what are you fearful of? What do you want to do next that would empower you? And if you embrace the fear, because what's courage? Courage for me is having fear and doing anyway. So actually, I think fear is a good thing, as long as you don't let it paralyze you. So what are you fearful of this moment? If you could embrace your fear and do anything, what would that anything be? I'd love for you to DM us, let us know. And, it's a powerful thing to look in the mirror and have that conversation with yourself, right?
Yeah.
So Mark, as we start to close, I'd love for you to share, obviously I'll include the links in the show notes and everything else, but how can people reach out to you? What's the best way of connecting? And what's coming up next for you too?
Yeah. So what's coming up next? The best way is probably going to my main website, which is literally my name, markjplatten.com. Going there, I've got all the different kind of programs I've got. So I've got different men's courses coming up continually, kind of going through. I've got a book that's coming out that I'm really excited about that tentatively is called It's Not What You Eat, But How. And it's about a relationship with our physical vessel, but it's also connecting it's a storyline along the lines of the Celestine prophecy, the way of the peaceful warrior, the alchemist, and so on, where it's an allegory through a novel with a lot of spiritual tenets that kind of come up and help us be in relationship with our physical vessel. And interestingly, also with death, which is a whole nother story. And I knew I was going to do stuff around death I've known for probably 30 years I was going to do stuff around death. And I wrote this book, it was kind of channeled through me. And I wrote it. And at the end of it, it's like, oh, you dirty little devils. This is also a book about death. It's like, you sneaky spirit. I didn't even think about that. Literally, it didn't cross my mind until after I was done that it was a book about death as well, and a relationship with death. And so it's a deep connected, it's meant to do. So speaking of collaborative connections, it's meant to go through with a group of people. There's a workbook that goes along with it. So it will create, for the groups that go through this, it will create relationships that are deeper than your spouse, than with your children, than with your best friends. Because the questions I'm asking and inviting you into are such deep soul questions that you'll come out of that having incredibly exquisite relationships with other people that you do this with. So
Beautiful.
that's what I'm up to. That and some
Uh,
interesting sound healing
yeah.
things that I'm not quite sure how they're unfolding with, but there's some really fascinating sound work that I'm doing as well. So that's what I'm up to there, Nims.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And not to put you on the spot, but when's this book coming out? If you had to give us a tentative date.
Yeah, it should be coming out. The plan it's already written. I'm doing some editing right now and some partnership work I'm doing. Uh, and it should be coming out toward the beginning of August of 2026. So
Beautiful.
this year.
Beautiful.
So within a couple
So
months here.
yeah. And by the time this episode comes up, it might be it's going to be late July anyway. So maybe it's gonna. So yeah, we will include all the show notes. Mark, thank you for this conversation. I love the loving aspect of connecting with the male and kind of helping and transitioning. I love your connection with nature. And as I said, when we first spoke, my third eye was going crazy. It's been going crazy back and forth as we've been having this conversation. So if this episode resonates with anyone that's listening, please do like, comment, share it with others. If anything we've said resonates, then reach out. Send an email, a message, DM. Let us know. Always love to get those sort of feedback. How does this impact you? And please do reach out to Mark. We'll include stuff in his show notes, and give him some feedback too. Right, he's doing some beautiful work for the planet, and such a light soul. So, Mark, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for everything you've shared with such an open heart. And I guess for me, if anything resonates, anything I've said, please do reach out. And I'm sure Mark agrees. We're sending you all so much love and light, holding you, allow the universe to love you, support you. Allow Gaia to love you unconditionally. We're sending you so much love and light. Mark, I'm going to hand over to you to say any final words. Over to you.
I'm going to start where I started with. I don't have any words other than just be, surrender, soften in, and receive.
Receive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye for now.